if you can understand how a woman operates and how we communicate, then it's a lot easier to sell to women because you're actually working with them. The person that's selling has to be completely in their feminine energy so that they're able to receive and hold space and just be the portal to the destination. Selling shouldn't be a big thing. It's not about how much money you're going to make. It's not about being paid at the end of the day. It's about how can I help another person, and how can I help another person get them to where they desire to be, and how can I be that vessel and that person to be there.
Welcome to Swift Coaches Academy, a podcast dedicated to bringing health and wellness professionals the uncensored truth behind what it really takes to succeed in the health industry with me, your host, Xenia Wood. As an accredited exercise physiologist and business owner for almost a decade, I'm on a mission to transform the lives of ambitious health professionals like you who want more and are ready to take action to create incredible impact in your careers and unlock financial freedom in your business. So join me as I speak candidly with industry leaders about the struggles and successes from within the trenches through thought-provoking conversations. Welcome, Jessica Viera. I'm so bloody pumped for today. How's your morning been?
Excellent. I'm so good to be here.
Oh, so good. We were just talking before we started about how bloody freezing it is, even though we both live in the Sunshine State.
Yes, it is absolutely freezing.
I'm going to get you to introduce yourself, but before we go through that, I'll give the brief synopsis, and then I'll get you to maybe dive into your story. But I guess I came across you on social media. Gosh, I don't know, maybe 6+ years ago. I think I found you through Dan Kirkbride, who you've mentored and business coaching and things like that back in the day. You're obviously a fitness professional before that. I feel like you've had 5 different lifetimes now. You do Feminine Sales Academy, you marketing, you've built a team, and just it's so cool to kind of have seen your journey progress, and from your origin story, which I think I'd love to hear from you. It's such an empowering story. So could you give us back from when you started and how you've sort of transcended fitness, business, marketing, sales?
Yep.
I know that's a lot to ask, but
it's good. It's good. I feel like no, I'm excited to share. I feel like sometimes especially when you're in business for so long, I feel like some people see where you're at now, but they don't really realize that there's been so many different stepping stones or so many different loopholes. And you would know, even just being in business, it's it wasn't always like this. There was a time when you didn't have a client, or you were just getting your first client. So I'm excited to share. So I own Feminine Sales Academy. And basically I started my business maybe 6-ish years ago. But when I first started, I was nursing. So I had been nursing for 7 years. I specialized in anesthetic nursing. And when I was 21, I think 2021, no, not 2021. I was turning 21. Gosh, couldn't get that right. But I started in the fitness industry, and that's kind of when I broke away from, drinking all the time, partying, all the rest. And then I ended up in a weight loss journey, and I ended up doing I think it was a 12-week challenge with a WBFF Pro for the first time. And that's when I became so obsessed with the fitness industry. And then, I ended up doing bodybuilding and doing fitness comps. And then from there, that's when I kind of got introduced to the coaching world. And back then in 2012, the coaching industry was little chicken nuggets. There was only one person here and there. The online space really wasn't anything back then. It's crazy. It's watching the evolution of Instagram and people being in business in the online space. So back then there was only a few names, and it kind of inspired me, and I wanted to do coaching. But I was also really scared, because it's you spend all this time studying a career, you go spend all this money on diplomas, university, you dedicate your whole life to a career and establishing that, to all of a sudden thinking, well, what if there could be something else? Or what if I could do something else? And I started kind of fitness coaching off of my Instagram. I had built a social following. I had like 40,000 followers, didn't make a dollar. I was like the broke influencer. And I built it for bodybuilding. And then I had a partner at the time, and he was coaching and he was doing really well. And he was like, I'm going to earn $10,000 a month. And I was like, holy hell, you can get paid $10,000 a month coaching? And he's like, yeah, I can. And he did really, really well. And that was like the first kind of like inspirational piece that showed me that there was a possibility in becoming an entrepreneur and actually like becoming a coach. So then not long after, I ended up starting my own fitness business. At the start, I would obviously like didn't do that well. I think I was charging like, oh my gosh, like $10 a week. I like, honestly, it was like insane. And then I really bit the bullet in 2018. That's when I was like, I'm doing it. I'm going all in. I hate my career. I'm like, I'm over everything that I'm doing. I completely had left my nursing career. I was managing gyms, coaching coaches at the time. And then I just went all in on the fitness business and launched that. And then COVID hit and I launched this business once I had built up a multiple six-figure fitness business. As soon as the world shut down, everyone started asking me to help them. And they're like, I need to move my business online. Can you help me? Because most people had a face-to-face business and I had both. I
Yeah.
had online and face-to-face that was doing well. So me transitioning online was not that hard when everything happened. Sure, I had to think of, well, what are my options? But then people started asking me, well, how do I market my business? And then I started this, and here I am.
And then
That's
so
the,
you
like, short story.
yeah, yeah. So like you obviously you're not fitness coaching anymore. You sort of like got into business coaching in that space.
Yes.
And uh talk to me about like what that looked like for you, and then how you transitioned into doing the feminine sales. Because what I see you doing online now that I really love is really like what appears to be like an end-to-end service. It's like you'll do the marketing, you'll get the leads, and you like implement a sales team into someone else's business so they can literally just like focus on deliverables. Did I get that right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
In some degree, yes, yes. So yeah, how did the evolution of Feminine Sales Academy come up? So we're about 15, 16 months old now when I first started Feminine Sales Academy. Prior to that, I was business coaching, and I was still teaching Instagram. I was still teaching marketing. I was still teaching sales. But what I wasn't really doing was leveraging my gifts. And I think that's something that I have stepped into. And that was really figuring out like, what am I actually good at? So for anyone that's listening, if you're a coach, and I teach about this, which is the wildest thing, you have to find like your it thing that you're just so good at. And that's your biggest leverage in business. And what I realized is that obviously the online coaching industry is growing, it gets harder and harder because there's more people in the space. Social media keeps growing. You have to really find what your it thing is. And what I realized is that I became so good at sales and marketing, so good at it, so good at it that I was like, it would be crazy not to really leverage how good I am at sales. And at the time, when I started Feminine Sales Academy and the sales agency, there was only men doing it. Only men, like, your Jeremy Minor, not Grant Cardone, Cole Gordon, like they're probably some of the biggest names that everyone knows, Daniel G even. And it's all men. No one had a female sales agency for the online high ticket coaching industry. So there was a really big gap in the market. Also, there wasn't any women really teaching like sales. And I'm not talking about like attraction marketing or using your magnetism to get clients. I'm not talking about that. I'm speaking about like actual sales, like having sales conversations with people, which for women, it kind of like there's this old paradigm that kind of exists where it's like, you know, are we doing it icky? Are we being manipulative? We don't want to be like men when we sell. And it is true, women sell different to men. We are so different. The way that we communicate, the way that we connect, the way that we sell is completely different to men. So I wanted to, number one, break the stigma and the perceptions around women selling. And I also needed to bridge the gap for the coaching industry where I could help women hire saleswomen to work for them, and that no one was actually doing that. And that's kind of where Feminine Sales Academy was created, was around women being okay with selling and learning how to do it in a feminine way with feminine communication. And it really like blew up. So like for anyone listening that is like either that you have a gift, but you're not really like leaning into it. For me, it was really stepping into the fact that I am fantastic at sales and really leveraging that to grow the business. I think
That's
that answers your
cool.
question.
Yeah, I think my follow-up question for that is like, what is feminine communication? How is it different to traditional sales or like masculine
Yes,
selling?
such a good question. So it's so funny. Like I've learned from a lot of these, the best men in sales, like, and I've learned so much in sales. I've invested so much in learning and developing my sales skills. And what's funny is like every time I'll see like a script that a man has written, there's nothing wrong with it. It's perfect as it is. It's so great. And it follows, the principles of sales methodology, frameworks, all of the sales methods are all the same.
Mhm.
They're all the same. Sales is sales. That's it. It doesn't matter who's teaching it. It's all the same thing. But what the difference is the words and the choices of words and how they're positioned. So like there is a certain tone, there is a certain way in which men will use their words, and it is very penetrative. It is in masculine communication, and that's fine because it works for them because they're men. But there are certain words that women will, if they were to use those choice of words, that's where it comes across not in the right way, especially if you're selling to women or women selling to men. So what I realized is that a lot of like the scripting was designed for men, but not for women. That's why so many women that would maybe, learn from some of these men that didn't know how to personalize it in more of like a feminine way, it would feel very manipulative. It would feel inauthentic. It would feel very like pushy or salesy, so to say. But it's not that it's wrong. It's all perfect. It's just not written for how women should communicate. And that was like the biggest thing. And so I changed it. I changed the way that we communicate and the way that women feel, but also women selling to women. We don't sell to women based on a lot of logic. Yes, the logic makes like there are certain people that buy based on logic and data. However, women are more heart centered. We're more vision based. We're more identity shifting, paradigms shifting. Like we invest based on desire and who we're becoming. So if men selling to men will sell based on pain, trigger pain points, like you have to be a better man, like really like giving it to them hard. And that works for men selling to men, but it doesn't work for women because that's not our drivers. Our drivers are very like heart-centered. We're focused on who do we need to become and the woman that we need to become in order to have what we want to have. And we're like world peace people, philanthropists, visionaries. So it's
It's
just like it's so different.
it's so interesting you say that because my lens and my understanding is like just human psychology. We as people are more likely to run away from pain than towards pleasure. And so like I would have thought that regardless of someone's gender, it's like my understanding is that we do run away from the things that we don't want
Yes.
faster and more aggressively than we run towards the things that we do want. So can you help maybe me and anyone listening understand like how you use that?
That's so true. And that's such a good question. So you are right. Psychologically, and just as human beings, we will do whatever it takes to move away from pain. Absolutely. It's in our human nature. No one wants to suffer. No one wants to be in pain. So do we psychologically buy from a state of pain? Yes, to some degree, to move towards pleasure and the thing that we want. It's normal. However, it's how you have that conversation with someone. So the worst thing that I think you could do when even just, let's just say, for example, women selling to women, I'll use that as an example. or even men selling to women. I can't even tell you how many phone calls, if men trying to sell to me, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is like the worst call I've ever been on. There is no way you're getting my money. But women don't like to be dismissed. Like, women don't like to not feel heard or not feel seen or not feel like there is a safe container for them to be expressive. Women don't like to feel undermined when they're on a sales call. Women want to feel empowered. They want to feel like, not like they're in control, but they do genuinely want to feel heard. So teaching that is, and teaching like women how to understand other women, because like when two women get on a sales call, there's also like the energetics of a room. And I believe in energy, and I believe in like buying psychology, but I believe a lot in the energetics. And the thing is when two women will either get in a room, there is a frequency that has to happen. That one person is the leadership, one person is playing the masculine role, one person is playing the feminine role. And the thing is that the person that's selling needs to be able to hold that space for another woman, needs to be able to hear her, needs to be able to see her, needs to be able to listen, actively listen to the things that she's saying, and not trigger her where she feels unsafe or unheard or misunderstood. It's more so about like, I see you, I hear you, and I'm here to help you become a better person. Whereas there's other instances, for example, where people will use their sales, the way in which they communicate on sales, by triggering, like, for example, a woman. Now, that's the last thing that you want to do, because if you trigger a woman, you're going to get a whole bunch of emotional chaos, and you're also going to get potentially a very aggressive woman that is going to tell you to get stuffed, and there's no way that they're going to give you their money. So it's like, if you can understand how a woman operates and how we communicate, then it's a lot easier to sell to women, because you're actually working with them, not trying to trigger them and make them feel less than, or that they can't have the things that they have, because women don't want to feel disempowered. They want to feel empowered. And I think that that's the difference between even just like men selling to men. They can be very hard. They can be very firm. They can be like, cut the bullshit. You need to become a better man. You need to like step in your purpose. You need to do this. But that's not how you empower a woman.
And
It's
so
so,
how does that work? Like, how have you found, because I know
yeah.
that you've obviously sold to men as
Yeah.
well. Do you still use your feminine methodologies, or do you revert back to a bit more masculine selling?
Such a good question. And I actually love selling to men. It's good. It can be challenging. And I've seen it done like two ways. I've seen it done where a woman will feel like that she has to take control on the sales call, because she, like, the person that's selling, like, she has to be the one that's like in control and leading them, and making, kind of, they go down like either the making a man feel less than, but really a woman is going to be able to enroll men into their container by actually being in their feminine energy, because the person that's buying has to be in their masculine energy. Whether it is a man or a woman, they have to be in a masculine energy, because logically they're trying to make sense of how I'm going to make this investment, and they're the one that have to take the action to purchase. The person that's selling has to be completely in their feminine energy, so that they're able to receive and hold space and just be the portal to the destination. That's it. So if a woman is selling to a man, you be the flirtatious person. You're not there to boss them around. You're not there to tell them what to do. He can make his decision for himself. He can. He's confident. He knows what he wants. He knows what he needs. He is very clear. He just needs to know what the pathway is, how you can help him, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, if a woman is trying to control him or belittle him or make him not feel like that he is in his leadership to make that decision, that's where it can go like completely off. And most of the men that I've signed up to, I have just been so relaxed. I'm like, I'm here to help. If it makes sense, amazing. If it doesn't make sense, then I can refer you to someone else. It's not a problem. I'm not here to push you. I'm not here to guide you. I'm not here to lead you. I'm just here to be here. And if it makes sense, we'll work together.
Hmm.
Like no expectation, because a man can feel if a woman has an agenda, if a woman has an expectation, if a woman is criticizing, if a woman is judging, if a woman is trying to get an outcome from him, he can feel that. You don't need to say it, but he can feel the energy of a woman penetrating him or trying to get a result. So the
Mm,
best thing a woman can do is release expectation, not judge him, nothing, and just be completely just like, I'm just here to help. That's it.
mm,
And it's the best thing because through a woman's question asking, or even woman to woman, through your question asking, they're able to lead themselves to the sale. A man wants to feel like it's his decision, not that it's being forced upon him. And that's where like the point of resistance can come up between like men and women on sales calls.
yeah. Cool. I love that. I feel like I'm writing all these notes. I've got like a ton more clarity. I'm like, oh, I should change all these things. Uh, because you're right. Like, I mean, I've learned through men with sales as well. And like, I think the common thing that I hear is that women just don't even want to get on sales calls. And so they're like, oh, well, I'll just default to like, leaving in their court, or like only using DMs, or like, let's just create a funnel landing page so I don't have to like have these icky conversations. But it makes it feel so much nicer and like opening and welcoming when you sort of address it the way you did, in terms of, I'm just here to help, and like if it works, it works, and that's cool.
It. That's it. I feel like selling shouldn't be like a big thing. It honestly shouldn't. Like selling to me is serving and it's helping other people. That's it. It really is. There's no hidden agenda. It's not about how much money you're going to make. It's not about being paid at the end of the day. It's about how can I help another person, and how can I help another person get them to where they desire to be, and how can I be that vessel and that person to be there. And the rest is just communication. That's it. But the thing is I think most people avoid it, or they have like this a negative thoughts around it, or opinions about it, about doing sales, is honestly because most people don't know how to communicate. That's it. They just don't know how to communicate. They've never been taught. Most people aren't taught how to communicate. I think in my nursing career, the number one thing that you learn in like your first month is how to build therapeutic relationships and how to active listen. Like, and it's so wild that we have to learn that in nursing, because, well, it's not wild actually, is because when you go into nursing, you're dealing with people that have 4 weeks to live. So you
Mm,
have to know how to hold space for people when they don't have the words to say, or when
mm,
they're going through stuff. So like I think of sales in a very similar way. Like the people that we get on calls with, um, it's not about me. It's not about me at all. It's literally not. I'm playing a part in someone's life. And whether they become a client or not, that person needs me at that point in time. And I'm there to help them. That's it. And I'm there to
yeah.
listen and I'm there to hold space. But people don't look at it that way. They make it like such a big thing, and they're so focused on the money, and they're so scared of rejection, and they're so scared of like someone like not liking them, that they will avoid it at all costs. And then they just don't know how to communicate during a call.
I love that. Let's shift into marketing, because I feel like
Yeah.
another one of your strengths is like, okay, well, how do I get so many people on sales calls to get great at
That's
sales? Like,
true. That's so true.
so like before the sales obviously has
Yeah.
to become the marketing. So where did you like learn the things you do in marketing, and what do you think are maybe a couple of the key things that have really like
Yeah.
unlocked marketing for you to get as many leads as you want, and yeah, create the business that you have?
It's a good question. And you're right, you do need leads in order to have sales calls. That's 100% the truth. So, where did I start learning this? So I started learning in like probably my first mastermind back in 2018, almost 19. So I first started learning paid advertising. That was really where my mentorship journey started, and I learned Facebook ads. I learned how to build funnels. I learned automations and all the rest. It was the most wildest journey ever. Like, oh my gosh, crazy! All of a sudden, you're learning these things. Um, but also, I think it was just posting and sharing my story on social media for so long and putting myself out there. That's really what developed my writing skills. And by all means, like I wasn't the best at writing. Like I dropped out of high school. I still put words in the wrong place. I'm not the best speller. Sometimes my sentences, I read it afterwards and I'm just like, I don't even know what I wrote, to be honest. And I'm like, I don't know how to fix this. I'm going to have to change it. Like my sister had to proofread all of my captions before it even went out because I didn't know how to write properly. I really didn't. So I think learning marketing has been something that I've continuously allowed myself to keep focusing on, even when I wasn't that great at it. And I think that's where so many business owners and coaches and whatnot, like they beat themselves up over things not being perfect, but it's like, it's not going to be perfect if you avoid it. You have to just continuously like keep putting yourself out there and allow yourself to learn how to write, how to be expressive, how to share your story. So that's just something that I've just always committed to doing, is just doing better each day. And even now, sometimes my marketing isn't even that great. Yesterday I posted a reel that did nothing and I'm in the middle of a launch and I'm just like, well, that wasn't that great. I wanted to have more comments on that reel, but it doesn't matter. Like it's not that deep. I don't beat myself up about it. But in terms of building a brand, I think getting leads comes down to like, honestly, you have to be committed to put yourself out there. You really have to be committed to. And I feel like so many people like tiptoe around it, or they do it for 30 days and then they're like, they expect to have these huge outcomes, but it's like, no. The reason why I am where I am now, the reason why last year we were able to make 3.3 million and this year already have 2.2 is because 5 years ago I decided to be consistent.
Mm.
And I think people see it now and they're like, oh, wow, she has all these things and I can't have it. Like, it's like, no, I chose to be consistent. And over time, I created a compounding effect that built a brand, that built reputation, that built credibility. I continuously focused on building a brand and doing good by my clients and doing all these things and working on my skill set in sales and marketing, that over time it became great. Now, obviously, there's a lot of strategy that goes behind it, but like if you want to get more leads, you have to be present. Like you have to be present. Like every single day, I made it my non-negotiable to be the first person on everyone's Instagram stories, the first person. And you know what people used to say to me? Jess, every day I wake up and I see your face. You're right there at the front of my stories. Every single day you were there. I'm like, great. That's my intention. My intention is that you see my face every single day, because if you see my face every single day, there's a high chance you're going to become a client. If I'm not present on social media, like who's going to see me? No one's going to see me. So I made it my intention to be the number one on everyone's stories. I made it my intention that every day I would not just share my personal life and who I am and my opinions and just parts of me, but I would also sell every single day. I make it my intention that on every single reel, there is a CTA. I make it my intention to post every single day. Yeah, I make it my intention to do these things every single day because it's like I hear it all the time. Like, I want more leads. I want more leads. And then they're like, oh, but I don't want to post. Or, oh, it's just too much. Oh, it's just too much showing up. Oh, I don't get enough likes. I don't get enough saves. There's not enough people in my stories. There's not enough this. And I'm like, well, there's not going to be if you're just not going to do it then. Like, you say you want more leads, but then you don't want to be visible. It makes no sense. You say you want more people to sign up for your program, but you don't want to sell. That makes no sense. How do people know to buy from you? Like, you say you want hundreds of people in your program, but you aren't willing to put yourself out there in front of hundreds of people to have hundreds of people in your program. It's like, if you want to be more visible or you want to expand your brand, you have to be willing to be consistent over a period of time, and you have to be willing to put yourself out there all the time.
I love that. I think, like it even highlights for me, I'm like, you know what, could be doing more, you know what, could be even more consistent. And like, I get people come to me and be like, oh my God, like you're everywhere on my Instagram. And I'm like, yep. But also like, could be like, is it that daily habit? And I think that
It is.
just the reinforcement for hopefully like that one person who's listening, who's like, fuck, I need to show up today, or I need to sell on stories. How have you, like, I feel like a lot of people, when they're like, okay, I'm committed to doing this, and then they're like, oh, it just feels like so much, and like every single day feels like a lot. I'm sure you've heard this often. Do you have something that you often provide as advice for people who feel like, holy shit, like this is like, I'm committed to it, but I also feel a bit exhausted?
Yeah. I think that there's going to be a period where you're going to go through a knowledge gap. So when you're learning marketing or you're learning how to create, content every day, write every day, because it really does, um, it requires a lot of creative energy and a lot of thinking to write and to be expressive. And it's not an easy job. Like most business owners that want to be online don't really realize you are literally a full-time content creator.
Yeah.
You actually are.
I figured that out.
It's actually your job. And even when, just for anyone listening, even when you're making a lot of money and even if you have a team and you have people in all the bums in the right seats, you have a virtual assistant, you have coaches, you have all these things. Guess what the business owner's job is at that point?
Marketing and
That's it.
visibility, and yeah.
That's your full-time job. Your full-time job is educating, teaching, being on podcasts, creating content. You actually have to create more content when you get to that point. Like
Mm.
people think that like when you get to some level of success that you actually get to do less and you don't have to create. It's like you actually have to create more. That's going to become, you are the face. That's it. And you're the decision maker. So it's like, but at the time, like when you're building, like I do remember, like I used to spend hours creating content. Oh my gosh, hours, 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 because I didn't really know how to write that well. I didn't really know how to create good content. And it's only because I had a knowledge gap. And I think a lot of people beat themselves up when they don't have a knowledge gap and they don't allow themselves time to get better. It's like going to the gym, right? You want a big juicy glutes. You want to have a big plump bum, right? So it's like you have to train it every day for it to build in order to get there. It's just, and then it becomes easier and you train it less. It's like the same thing is with your content. At the start, it's going to feel like it takes you so long and you're not always going to be creative. But after a while, you can do it with your eyes closed.
Yeah,
It's like
just like the gym. Yeah.
just like the gym. It literally is. But I think people beat themselves up at the start. And for anyone listening, it's like allow yourself time to grow. You're in no rush. There's no real urgency. You will grow into creating amazing content. I think that people have to allow themselves that time
Yeah, and be consistent
and
at
be.
it, and even when you suck, and even when you get like your mom, who's the only one who likes your post.
That's such a big one, especially for women. Like women are constantly seeking validation and seeking approval from other people. So it's like if you're not seeing that evidence of people liking your content, commenting on your posts, or messaging you, that's where women start to feel not good enough. It's like, why is that woman good enough, better than me? Or why does that woman have what they have? And why I'm doing all the things, but why aren't I getting it? Is because we're constantly seeking validation from other people. But I think for anyone that's not seeing that evidence right now, do it for you. Don't do it because you're seeking approval or validation from other people. And if you can just do it for you, you'll naturally see a really big shift. And because that is coming from a pure place of a desire, not coming from a place of like, I need to be approved of before I'm good enough to have what I want.
I feel like that's so true. And I can actively think of like moments when I was like, when almost you just posted on Instagram back in the day just for like, oh, like I just want to share this thing I learned. And I remember I used to, like, it was almost just like my own documented journey for me. And
Yeah.
then other people started to like see it, engage in it, and want stuff. And I think I got to a point where it kind of shifted, and it was like for them, and it was for outcomes, and it wasn't for like the process of myself and for learning. So I think that that's a really important message.
It's huge, huge.
Mm. Um one other thing I wanted to speak about, which you sort of touched on with the start of your marketing journey, was the paid advertising stuff. And so my understanding is like, perhaps this allows you to show up
Mhm.
less, not none, but
Mhm.
perhaps, like it, I guess, adds fuel to the fire of what's already working. What would you recommend if someone, like, for example, myself, like I've really dabbled
Mhm.
in paid ads, but like someone who's ready to like take their business to the next level, like they're doing really well organically, and they're like, okay, like what should those people be doing, and what have you noticed works with paid advertising that's maybe different to organic?
Yeah. So I love paid ads. I obviously do paid ads. I teach paid advertising. In saying that, I grew to 7 figures without paid ads. So, I have done that. I will say adding ads to a business is only going to amplify things a lot faster. So ads help you grow wide in a business. It also helps with like brand recognition. It helps with inbound leads. It helps with visibility. It helps generate, traction a lot faster than it would like relying on just purely organic. And it also, for me, it's a way of safety proofing my business. So it allows a business to safety proof it. So for me, I've had my Instagram like shut down a couple of times. Like, and if I have a team and I'm thinking of like longevity in the industry, like that could be your business gone overnight. And I've seen that happen to so many people. So like having another way that I can generate income. So if something was to happen, then I have another backup. Like, and that's what makes me feel safe, because I have been in those positions before, and I just like, why have that as a risk? The other thing is like for anyone that wants to get started is like, especially if you're in like the organic space. And I know there's so many like opinions and judgments of, whether, you're successful if you just do organic, and if you do ads and you're not successful when it's not a flex. Like, ads aren't a bad thing. Ads is a way where you can literally predict what sales you're going to make. Like if you put $1,000 in, you literally can do the maths, and you know how many sales you're going to or enrollments you're going to make within that month. Like it's not a bad thing. It's just a way of acquiring clients. That's it.
Yeah, that's so true. I didn't even think of that, but I guess that there's definitely some people who have that. Like, I actually remember early days, guy who I was good friends with in the industry, and he was like basically being like, "Oh, well, I've never paid for ads," and that's kind of like almost like that it's cheating, or it's like, I'm better than that, as if that's like a strategy that's seen as inferior, because you should be able to get everything through referrals or through organic. So
And there's multiple ways to build a business. Like by all means, there's so many different ways to like build and scale a business. Like doing things organically, it's not free. How
yeah,
many hours do you have to pour into to create content?
yeah.
It's not free. You're using every day, it's creative energy. Every day you have to show up on your stories. Every day you have to post a reel. If not, once you keep growing, it becomes 2 or 3 reels a day. Like look at even like I'll use example Brock Johnson, right? Amazing. He's an incredible content creator. He teaches social media. That guy creates content full time. He posts 4 to 5 times a day. He's a
Wow.
full-time content creator, and he makes a lot of money. And now he has ads on top of it. Ads is just going to expand his brand, help with brand recognition, help with building an emailing list, for example. Like if one platform was to go down, like I said, if it was to go down, like how are you protecting your income? How are you protecting your future? If you have a family, how are you protecting that? How are you protecting your wealth? Are you putting your money in the right places? Are you diversifying your marketing, or are you just hoping that every day that you wake up, your Instagram or something is going to be there? But in business, like I've learned from a lot of like 8-figure business owners, and the way that they got to 8 figures was not being on one platform. It's
Mm.
diversifying marketing and strategically building your list, being on multiple platforms, building credibility, building your name, and you slowly diversify at every single income level so that you don't put all of your eggs in one basket. And I like for beginners in business, like I know it's like really big thinking. I will say, like, even when I think when I first hit my first 85K month, that was when I lost my Instagram. That was
Wow.
scary. That was literally scary. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, is my business gone?"
And then
Um,
you're like, shit, now I need to diversify. You probably
yeah,
had some things in place before that.
for me, I was actually just looking for, like, I love ads and I love teaching it, and I wanted to give my clients other ways to build a business. I didn't want them like I've got some clients that really are not that interested in organic and they just want to do ads. I like my clients having flexibility. I want people to have flexibility. Some people hate organic, or they come to me and they're running ads and they need to learn organic, or they're doing organic and they want to learn ads. Like, it's not a bad thing. And you can always start off small. There's so many different ways that you can do it. Like, you can start off with $30 a day. It's not that much. For me, I'm like, if you have 10% of your profit, 10% of your profit, and you're willing, if you're making like 10, 20,000 a month and you have a good validated offer and it's something that you want to commit to and you want to amplify things a lot faster, you take 10% of your profits and you can put that towards running ads. But it
Mm.
shouldn't be at like the cost of like your income and whatnot, because like, I think you got to do it strategically, but it's just a way to accelerate the process.
I love that. And you also said, you said something before that really stuck with me that I wanted to come back to. You said
Mhm.
ads amplify things, which I think is, I can imagine is really true. And I wonder, like, did it also amplify potentially your back end and things that maybe broke because you're like, shit, I wasn't ready for this? Or like, what challenges or hurdles came with
Yeah.
adding ads when you were like, oh my God, I didn't realize my funnel needed to be different? Or like, was there anything for you that wasn't set up that you had to pivot with?
Yeah. So I started building backend systems way before I launched ads. Like, when you're running multiple different programs and masterminds and everything, like, I had already started setting up like automations and workflows to make things a lot easier for me. For anyone that is like, I think, listening, that's growing in business, like, once you start getting to like the 30K, 20 to 30K month mark, start working on it then. Don't work on it when it's too late, because it feels like a lot and everything is just chaos. Um, but when we did launch ads, it definitely adds a complexity, a layer of complexity. It does require more tech, more automation, because the thing is that ads are working for you whilst you're sleeping. So everything needs to just run. Leads need to move through emailing lists. Things need to be automated. So there was like a lot more automation that needed to go in place, but once it's set up, you're just looking at numbers at that point.
Yeah. And I mean, I've sort of seen you talk about this behind the scenes, and I definitely do this in my business too. But for someone who's like, what do you mean it's just numbers? Like, can you run us through really basically
Yeah.
from, okay, like I get a lead in, and how does that equal like dollars at the bottom? And what are you tracking?
Yes, so good. So there's two kind of like different metrics that you want to track. So for example, and it also just depends on like um what type of funnels you're also building. And I have a calculator and I want to kind of like pull it up whilst I'm going through it. It depends on what funnel you're actually like running, for example, but like each different type of sales funnel, whether it's a call, if you're aiming for call bookings, applications or call bookings, or if you're, which is what I run. And then I also run like a product course funnel, which just sells courses on autopilot every single day. And that gets me customers. One gets calls, one gets me customers. So two
Mhm.
different ways. But in the online marketing space, there really is like three main funnels that you would use depending on the business and depending on what niche you're in, depending on what offers you have. Like, the spirituality world will have a different funnel in comparison to someone that's teaching business coaching. Um, that normally, that's why when you want to go down the path of ads, you should probably hire someone that knows all of these things, or that's where people waste money. They try to do it themselves and then it's like, why is this not working? But typically when it comes to the numbers, first step is to figure out, know what funnel you need to use based on your offers and your niche, and also just your personal goals, and where your business is at. That's the first thing. The second thing is like, um, you need to have ad budget. So typically I never recommend for my clients, like a lot of marketing agencies will say you need to spend $5,000 in your first month. You do not. I've had marketing agencies churn tens of thousands of dollars before I ever made a dollar, and their strategies were horrible. Like, spend as much, waste a lot of money to try and see if you get results. There's a smarter way to do it. So normally, you should allocate like $1,000 ad budget in the first like month. That's to do like good testing. I think a lot of people will either spend too less, where they'll do like $10 a day, but $1,000 is like the best place to start with. Now, we know that if we spend $1,000, let's just say to aim for book calls, applications and book calls on your calendar, we would know based on like ad metrics, we have certain industry KPIs. So if an ad with one of those metrics are out, then we know, do we need to change the creative? Do we have to change the copywriting? Do we have to change the headline? So we know in the marketing industry, and this is why it's so important. If you're going to run ads, hire a coach or someone that knows this, that can help you do it so you don't waste money, because we literally live and breathe this. So it's like one number will mean one thing that you have to change. And we know that if, like, let's just say CPC is out, we know exactly what has to get changed so that it's back in alignment so that you don't waste money. That's the first thing. The other thing is like, if you were to spend like $1,000, everything's based on like how many leads you get, then what your application rate is, then what your call booking rate is, then what your show up rate is to call, and then what your closing rate is. And that will depend on how many signups you will get. We know like basically like what the industry metrics are. And then it's just a matter of, okay, is it in KPI or is it out of KPI?
Cool. And so did you create those, or is there somewhere that you can find those metrics that are online? Like, what do you go off?
You honestly, it's how I've learned is like just years in the space, also hiring people and learning it, learning from coaches. I've learned it over the years. I've learned from multiple different mentors that taught ads, and now I know how to like do it all. I know how to run sales teams and all the rest. So I think the best thing for anyone that is thinking of doing it, don't try and YouTube it, because you're probably not going to find what you need in order for you to not waste money. You should hire someone that's already doing it and doing it well, and someone that teaches ads and has ad strategists or sales coaches inside of their container that can help you understand it. Like, for example, and I don't want to be that weird person that like talks about their mentorship on a podcast. I hate when that happens. But for example, right, the people that I've learned from, they have always had ad strategists in their containers. And for me as well, if I'm going to teach ads, I'm going to make sure that I have the best strategists and consultants helping to teach that so that my clients learn it. So the best thing that you could do if you want to go down that path is make sure that they have those consultants inside of the container that can help educate you, because that's where people like will waste money, is that like they don't have the support that they actually need running ads. And for example, like my ad strategist, she has 12 years industry experience. She used to work for Google. She knows ads inside and out, like inside and out. And then I've been in the sales industry for so long. I know sales inside and out. I know all the metrics inside and out. My copywriter has been working in the marketing industry for years. Like, when you go into these containers, you have to make sure that it has all of the experts that are needed to help you optimize it. And I think that's where so many people end up like wasting a lot of money for no real reason, is because the support is not there.
I love that. And like, even just you talking about like the fact that you're like, cool, I do all of this stuff, but also I'm going to get someone else who's like 12 years plus on what I've got, so that, you know,
Yeah.
you don't have to be the everything for everyone and try and be the generalist, but B, like, it just shows, I think it's a shift, right? I was talking to students in my program yesterday, and I was saying, guys, like, we all have diverse skills and our clients could probably all use these. Can we just like swap and share data and be the expert in what you're in, and then
Yeah.
let someone else do the other stuff?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I believe it. Yeah. Even in my own business, like I definitely don't pretend to be like the expert in everything. Like I do know a lot, but there are certain areas like I hire for, but one thing for anyone listening, don't hire for your own inefficiencies. You have to learn the skill so that you know who you're hiring first and you know how to hold them accountable. Because if you hire based on something that you don't know yourself, you don't know if things are working well, and you also don't know what to hold them accountable to, especially when it comes to like ads or sales. And this is where I think people will go wrong even when they're hiring and they don't want to do it and they want to delegate something before they've even learned it. That is probably the worst mistake that you could make as a business owner. And I've been there and I've done it before. And I hired for my inefficiencies rather than learning it first, understanding it, knowing the numbers and knowing the role. And then I hire based on what I know.
I love that. I think it's just something that's been reinforced for me as well. It's like, of course, there are things that you want to outsource and get support with, but if you don't know, another way that I've heard that said is inspect what you expect.
Yes.
So it's like, make sure that you know, like you said, what you can hold them accountable for, or what their metrics or KPIs are supposed to be, as opposed to just like, I don't know if this is good, but it's better than I can do. So
100%. And yeah, and I've done that before. Like I can't tell you how many people I've hired and not really known. And I'm like, I just didn't want to deal with it. But then it actually lost me more money and it caused more harm than good. And then you just reach this point where you really just don't want to suffer anymore and you may as well just learn it.
the business owner life of understanding everything and then delegating anyway.
It's full on. It's full on.
Oh, goodness. Jess, I feel like we could probably chat all day, but I'm sure that you've got people to serve and a Friday to enjoy. So one thing that I love to finish on with all of our episodes is to provide people with something that they can actually take action on and move forward with, because podcasts are great, but if we do nothing with them, then I'm like, what's the point of spending the last hour of your life listening to this? So can you, based on what we spoke about today, what is one thing or maybe a couple of things that you think that someone could actually move forward in their business with and be like, right, I'm going to do that to improve?
Yes. I think big gold nugget takeaway. I'm going to bring it back to marketing because I feel like that this is everyone wants more sales, wants more abundance, wants more money. So let me give you this. I want you to, number one, go and find 5 to 10 of the top accounts in your niche and people that are doing well in their niche, people that you aspire to either be or people that have like somewhat of viral accounts and the Instagram is working. You see lots of likes, you see lots of saves, you see lots of comments. Okay. Then write a list of everything that you like about that person and everything you don't like. Right. Then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to not copy, but you mirror content. Okay. Now, all of the content is all the same. Now, I want to say it again. Do not copy. Don't go copy and pasting people's captions or like copying their hooks. No, you're looking and drawing for inspiration, right? What is working, the reason why people's accounts are viral and the reason why people's accounts do well is purely based on the fact of the sound, the way that the video is structured. So you want to mirror how they're doing things and how they're doing it well, because if it's working well for them, it will work well for you. The second thing that you're going to do is once you've found those 10 accounts and you're going to start creating daily content, you're going to take all of the pressure off of yourself. Doesn't need to be perfect. You can literally create B-roll of you just sitting on a couch, drinking your coffee. It doesn't need to be perfect. The more natural, the better. And then what you're going to do is you're going to have a good hook every single day. And at the end of every single reel, you're going to add a CTA. For those of you that's listening, if you need to learn how to do CTAs, literally copy mine. It's the same. Every single person that has big viral accounts has the same goddamn CTAs. It's not that hard. Copy it, and every single piece of content you're going to post for 30 days straight, every single piece of content should have a CTA directing people how to work with you. That's it.
Awesome.
Literally.
I love that. I've written all of that down, and I'm going to make sure that that's in the show notes. So anyone who's listening being like, fuck, what was step 2? I've got you. Um, because I feel like so valuable, and it's going to, I guess, create that consistency for people and just be able to have a look and review what is and isn't working for them based on what they've done as well. So thank you so much, Jess, for your time. I know that's such a precious asset, and I really appreciate you spending it with me this morning. Where can people learn more about you, or if they are like, shit, I need some help with some of the stuff that Jess mentioned, where's the best place for them to connect?
Super, one place, just Instagram. It's just Jessica full stop Viera, which I'm sure you'll put in the show notes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Perfect. Amazing. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic Friday, beautiful.
Thank you, darling.
Just a quick reminder before you go, that link is waiting for you in the show notes if you are a health coach who is in business looking to grow or scale. We have options for both, and I am super excited to be working with a few individuals who are ready to take their business to the next level. If that sounds like you, chuck down and have a look at the show notes, and you can apply through there, and I will talk to you one-on-one and we can figure out if this is right for you. I cannot wait to chat.
I have a tiny favor to ask of you, and that is to just hit that subscribe button if you have not done it yet. If you've made it this far, then I hope that this has been valuable for you and for us to get more incredible guests in front of your earlobes and faces. If you're watching us on YouTube, then please do that now. And if you have any feedback or suggestions for me, or something that was a golden nugget that really stood out to you in this episode, I would absolutely love if you flicked me a message over on Instagram at Xenia Wood Official. Until next episode, and in whatever you do, move swiftly.